This video is to describe how to create the glowing, moving text, and it looks something like this. Okay, and we're going to make an animated GIF from that. Now, the size of the canvas we need is related to standard web sizes, so it's for a banner, and we want 720 by 300. I'm going to make a new document, 720 by 300. And what I would say to you is I would keep it for something like this. It could be 72. We're going to use vector graphics for the text and solid colors, so 72 is fine. If it was for your artwork, I might want to start out with 300, and then we can export it via export for the web. And that will compress it and will keep as much of the quality of your artwork, but it still might increase the size of the file. So you need to be careful. I'm just going to go back to that file and I'm going to borrow the text. It's quite nice. So what I've got on this text is I have a bevel and emboss. So I've just put a chisel bevel on it and given it a bit of a gloss contour. So if I just remove it, you can experiment with these different types of contours. And then I've also given it a color overlay, so it doesn't really matter what I've started with because it's 100% color overlay. And again, it's up to you whether it's full color or whether you want to multiply it in. I do want to multiply it because I put a gradient underneath as well to give it a little bit of, I don't know, just make it look a bit statuesque. So I've given it a grey to white gradient, so not black to white, but sort of grey to white. And then also, you decide how intense you want that opacity of the gradient to be. And the same with the color overlay. I've put 100% because I want a strong color. In fact, let's go even brighter. And then you can leave it as it is, or you could rasterize the layer style and everything would flatten down to a single layer, leaving the background layer. The background I do need to add a color to. It's going to work really well with a dark color, particularly black, so I'm just going to go for the blackest black. And always remember it's the color next to the color you're showing, so the black intensifies the yellow, and it makes a big difference. Now I'm going to also add another layer, and that layer is going to have a blob of white. So I need my brushes, and I'm just going to grab my brush tool to make them active. Just really want a big soft brush, something with a very soft edge, and just make sure it can kind of hide a letter. It's going to sweep across, and how fast it goes will be up to you. So it can just be a flash or it can be a gentle movement. We need to make this disappear, so I'm going to ask it to overlay, and then it's only going to sit on top of the bright letter underneath. And if you've got black, it should completely disappear. The other thing you can do is you could clip it, but sometimes it kind of dulls down the effect, and it has done to mine. So that would be a very gentle effect. So I'm going to leave it up to you whether you whether you do clip it or not. Now, I'm now going to create the video timeline. So I can just click and change it later. I can actually go straight to the frame animation timeline, but I'll just show you. If you click video, you can change the animation frame timeline here, convert to frame animation. So that's what I'm going to do. Now you need to decide just how long you would like your animation to take. So how long you want the bright light to linger on the first letter. At the moment it's on 5 seconds, which is rather a lot. I'm going to bring it right down to 1 second. And then I'm going to duplicate the layer by clicking this object here. Now I'm going to move the blob to the last letter. And then I'm going to ask the computer to fill in the frames in between. So it's going to do all the tweening in between. This little object here is tween animation frames. It looks a little bit like a comet. If I click this object, it's going to ask me how I want to tween. I'm tweening with the previous frame, and how many frames I want to add. So I've got 4 letters. Maybe I'll add another 6 frames and just say OK. So I've got 8 frames. It should take a couple of frames for each letter. And we can just see what that's going to look like. So something like that. And then, of course, you can save this whole document as a master document, either as a TIFF or a Photoshop document. And then you can also export, save for the web. And you need to keep your eye on what's happening down here. You should change the choices to a sort of mid-range cable, ISDN. And just keep an eye on this. I mean, 73 kilobytes is not going to take very long to load, so it kind of over exaggerates. That'll be pretty immediate. It won't take 4 seconds. But if you start to see this building up and the kilobytes building up to megabytes, you might need to reduce the colors, which will in effect deteriorate the artwork. So it's chicken and egg. You need to maybe sometimes make design decisions to keep the thing simpler in the first place. So you want to check that it says animation, and you'll be saving as a GIF. So if I have it on a JPEG, it's not going to save animated. It needs to be on a GIF. And make sure transparency is switched on. That'll keep all the lovely glowing colors. And then I'm just going to press save. If I press done, I would go back into editing mode and it would just save what I've selected here, ready for the next time, but it won't actually save the document itself. So the only way to save the document is to press this save. This preview will give you a little preview of what it looks like on the web, so you can see how it's going to look. And here is the HTML for embedding. And then you click save. So you don't have to preview if you're absolutely sure. Decide where it's going to go. I'm just going to put mine on the desktop and I'll call it text 5. You get a choice down here. For the moment we just want images, but you could create an HTML page with your image on it. You'll probably be supplying just images only. But when we previewed it, you saw the images at the top and there was the HTML underneath. So that's what the HTML is. So I'm going to click save. And then to preview it, you can just take your GIF file. You could throw it into a browser and the browser will show you what it's going to look like when it's hoisted onto the web. So one final thing, you won't be able to edit that GIF. Okay, so if you're not sure, save the main file, the Photoshop file, save it as a Photoshop document or a TIFF. So just make sure you preserve the layers and all of the animation structure in a master file if you're unsure.